Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Indie Comics Review. This is the show where every week I review 3 indie comic books. If that's the kind of content you find interesting, be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button. Also, there's a link down below to my online shop where I sell comic books that I have drawn myself and self-published, t-shirts, buttons, and other cool stuff. So if you'd like to support the channel, be sure to check out that link down below to my alternative city shop. Now let's get started with the reviews, which the first book of the week is Billy the Kid. This is Billy the Kid #1, and it is written by Justin Gray, and it is illustrated by Charlie Hogg. The Wild West has never been wilder. Introducing Billy the Kid, featuring a gunslinging rabbit seeking revenge against the tornado god that killed his family. Why was this sickly, skinny rabbit spared such a gruesome fate? What makes him so special? With the help of Luther the Goat, a profanity-spewing martial arts master, Billy relies on faith, magical firearms, and kung fu to wage war against the pagan gods and monsters of a bygone era. Co-created by Ringo Award-winning writer Justin Gray and artist Barry McLean Jr. Digital paints by Slamet Munoz. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you may remember that my comic son, Circumstances, has been talking about this book for quite some time, and I finally got a chance to check it out. It's funny in a lot of ways, and Circumstances loves it, and I can see what he sees in it too, because you get this story of Billy. He's just this sickly little rabbit, and he's just the runt of the litter. And one day, his pa and everyone else in town go out to this picnic, but he's stuck at home praying, hoping he can get better and everything. And the tornado god comes through the town and just lays waste to everybody. I mean, Billy is the only survivor, and he crawls out of his little rabbit hole and finds everyone in his town dead. And Billy is just heartbroken, starts digging graves and properly burying everybody and everything. And then he runs into this goat named Luther. And Luther, from the very start, is just, he's not sympathetic at all to Billy's situation. In fact, he's just bursting his bubbles left and right. Billy was such a religious, devout, young Christian rabbit, and Billy was always talking about how his father, his daddy, was so good, and my daddy told me this, my daddy told me that. And Luther's like, your daddy ain't shit. Your daddy was lying to you. Your daddy was a dumbass. That's why he's gone now. You're the only one left. Who knows why you're left? It's probably just dumb luck. And Billy gets mad at him. He can't fight him, and Luther just kicks his ass with ease without even trying. You know, it just makes Billy even more just fired up and excited to, like, one of these days I'm gonna be big and strong and all this stuff. And they run into Sasquatches, and there's like this whole thing where Billy wants to be, I guess, more or less mentored by Luther. And Luther is, at this point in issue #1, is having nothing of it. I've been trying to assemble this whole series. I've got issue #1, #2 is on the way. I've got 3 and, not 3, I'm looking for 3 still. 4 and 5 already have. So I'm trying to avoid any spoilers from Circumstances until I get to read the rest of them. But I'll probably just end up going to the Blue Juice website, where I think they do, he did say they have most of these books for sale. He's really into this book, and it's really a fun read. So you can find Billy the Kid, I almost got through the whole thing without saying Billy the Kid. You can find Billy the Kid from Blue Juice Comics. Be sure to give it a read. The next book is Dark One, #1, and this is the Free Comic Book Day 2020 version. And it is written by Brandon Sanderson, who is the creator, and it's also written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. The book is illustrated by Nathan Gooden, and it is on the Vault Comics label. From Hugo Award-winning best-selling author Brandon Sanderson, with Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, and Nathan Gooden, comes the Dark One Free Comic Book Day special, the first chapter of a new graphic novel series from Vault Comics. Visions of a twisted and fantastic world haunt Paul Tennyson, Wherever he gazes into a reflective surfaces, terrified of these hallucinations, Paul isolates himself. But when he discovers their prophecies from Meritus, a world in which he's destined to become a fearsome destroyer, he would have to embrace the fear, rise up as the Dark One, and shatter everything. Some worlds need to be broken. First, I have to say, I'm really sorry that it took me this long to discover this book and get around to reading it. I picked it up at the LCS. I forget which one of the two, probably one from each. We only have two in our area, so I picked one copy up each from each of the LCSs. And this is one of the coolest looking books. Most free comic book day books, they have a stamp on the front, which I hate. And this one has no stamp on it. And this one, many of them just give you a preview, like maybe a couple pages preview. This is an entire book preview of a graphic novel series, and the art is pretty phenomenal. This is great looking artwork, and it's a pretty well written book, I have to say. Like it says in the description, there's this guy named Paul, and he has these visions, and he's also constantly speaking to this girl who claims to be his sister, and she claims to come from another dimension or from this other place, this universe where he's destined to become some sort of large figure, and he's going to a therapist to try to cope with all these hallucinations and all these things he's going through. He has a difficult relationship with his mother. His mother is a big-time lawyer, and she's really emotionally distant, to say the least. They have money. He has whatever he wants, but money is not everything. And if you don't have that connection with parents, then this is not going to be a good relationship. So he tolerates the relationship with his mother, even though they're really not close. His therapist is giving him more drugs to try to counteract the hallucinations. It's really not doing the job. And we see his mother at work, and she answers to this guy, I guess the head of the law firm, and she represents just the worst people. She represents she gets killers off the hook. And in her new case, it's a serial killer, and her boss really wants her to accept a plea for this guy for some reason. She wants to just be the big time lawyer and get him off. But for some reason, this boss wants her to just let him take a plea deal. And there's something about her boss that's not revealed in this first book. This is a really well drawn book. It's pretty well written too. I had not heard anything about it since I picked up this book. It just kind of got pushed in the back of my collection. I was going through stuff a few days ago, and I said, "Oh, this is pretty cool. I should check this out." And I just started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. So it turns out this is a preview of a full 24 page preview, full-size comic book preview of this graphic novel series. And you can I will leave the links where you can get the series down below, because I don't think there'll be any more floppy versions of this. This was that's why it was so elaborate. They wanted to give you plenty of material so you can get excited about the graphic novel series. And I tell you, I think I want to read that series. The reading list is pretty long right now, but I would make an exception for this. This is a really good-looking book. It could be a little formulaic, but not really. I mean, everything is kind of that way. So I think this would be. I'm going to look for the graphic novel series, and I'll probably at least buy the first one to see what happens after this, because I'm really intrigued. The beginning was where they show this world and this entity. It's really pretty interesting. So Dark One, the free comic book day version. Maybe you already picked it up and just don't remember it like I did. But you can find. I'll leave a link where you can find the entire graphic novel series down below. I'm going to look into this, see what more there is to it. Maybe I'll get back and update this review somewhere down the road. The next book is Silence #1. It is written by Evan Pozios and it is illustrated by Alex Sanchez, and it is on Second Sight Publishing. After suffering a life-threatening medical event, former comic book superstar Stanley Kane seeks to regain his health in a remote town of Silence, Michigan. Will the accidental discovery of a mystical amulet galvanize his return to a comic book glory? Or will it lead him down a dark path from which he can never escape? There's not a lot of information available about this book. I ordered it months ago, and it was so late coming out, I practically forgot about it. And finally, it popped up on my comic shop, and I had to actually order it again because the copy that I ordered from a different place still hasn't gotten to me. I finally did track this one down, and the thing is, it's about a cartoonist, and that's what really piqued my interest about that. And this guy is apparently kind of I wouldn't say a has-been, but he's fallen on hard times. His wife has left him. He's deep in debt. He hasn't had a gig in a long time, and he's coming home he's leaving a hard day of trying to find some employment, and he hops in a cab, and this cab is playing some kind of music that he doesn't like. The cab driver was kind of spooky, so maybe there's some kind of a connection to his medical event, which he immediately has. He has a heart attack in the back of the cab because the cab driver just pissing him off with the music, and this day was just so crappy he couldn't take it anymore. And he wakes up in the ICU. His agent is there to greet him and tells him that he's had a heart attack. I guess he was so big that he still has an agent, so at least he has that kind of a lifeline. So he must have been pretty big at some point. And he recommends that he takes a sabbatical to get his health back in order. And this is the trip to Silence, Michigan. So he heads out to Silence, Michigan, and this is where strange things start to happen. The book doesn't really show a lot. Like, it talks about the amulet in the description. We don't get to that part just yet, so it kind of leaves off, kind of leaves you hanging a little bit at the end. This book is dated as 2021, I think October. And I know for a fact it didn't come out until like last month, like February or something like that. So it's going to be kind of a task, a chore to find the second issue. And if I can find the second issue, I'll probably read it because I like stories about cartoonists. It's kind of meta for me. The whole like, okay, you're having a hard time, let's go off to this place to recover is kind of a trope. But let's see what happens with this. Until then, I'm still kind of waiting for issue number 2 to get a full impact of the story, because issue number 1 just gives me pretty much almost what I read you in the little blurb about it. So there's not a lot to go on. But I wanted to know more about Silence, basically what it is. I need more Silence. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll try to track number 2 down, and I'll update this review later on as well. So this week, I do have an Artist Alley book. And the funny thing is, it's not really a book. This is called Alexandria Forever, Epic Sci-Fi. And Alexandria Forever, Epic Sci-Fi is actually a YouTube channel. I'll leave a link down below where you can watch these episodes on YouTube. And it is based on a podcast, which is called Alexandria Forever, I should say, Galactic Marshal. This person sent one of the people who are the creators for this book, for this series, sent me a link to their work. I was super excited because I really want to do something like this myself. And it's kind of funny the way they did it. They didn't start with a comic book. They started with a podcast. And what they did is they had artwork created to just coincide with the voice work of the podcast. And it's pretty cool episodes because the artwork is awesome. The artwork is great. The podcast is pretty funny. And I want to see. I've only watched the first couple episodes so far. I need to get back and finish the series, and it's there for you to just read and listen to for free. And I'll leave a link to the podcast too, which is like many episodes of the podcast. I can show you that in the links as well as to how to just listen to these podcasts. But to me, it's more fun to watch the YouTube vids, because that way you can get the visual stimulation and the podcast all in one easy motion. So the podcast Alexandria Forever Galactic Marshal is available, and also the epic Sci-Fi, which is called Alexandria Forever Epic Sci-Fi, which is available in video form, showcases the beautiful artwork of a lot of people. So I'm going to leave the links for both of those down below. And man, this is a really big winner to me from the Artist Alley. I don't know if they're ever going to do a printed version of this. They really don't need to, because this is a unique medium right here in itself. It's kind of like a motion comic, but it's just a visual thing. So man, right on. You guys have done a great job on this. So I recommend this. Just check it out and see if you like it. And yeah, it's a fun read and a fun listen. So that's all for this Indie Comics review. Glad to get at least one Artist Alley in. This was a kind of a unique one. Next week I'll have another Artist Alley. Some folks have sent me some new stuff that I haven't got around to yet. And I'll have 3 new indie books as well. So be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn notifications on so you know when I'm making my next video. So until next time, see you guys in the funny papers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up.